Everybody, welcome back to Rapture Radio, WCNI in New London, Connecticut. This is Metal Dan, and man, I am stoked and honored to be talking via Zoom with the legendary Joe Lynn Turner. Joe, how are you, man?
Good, Dan. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
You got it, man. Hey,
Yeah,
new record coming out
yeah,
October the
yeah.
28th, Belly of the Beast. You know, as a fan, I get excited on record release day. I like to
Right,
hear new records. Now, I've actually heard the new record already. It's phenomenal.
great. Oh,
But
thank you. Thank you.
you're welcome, man. But we don't often hear what the artist feels on record release day, man. How are you gonna
Yeah.
feel on October 28th? Is there gonna be some nervousness, anxiety,
Well,
butterflies, or is it just another day in the life of Joe Lynn Turner?
no, it's like having a baby, you know. I'm like an expectant father, waiting all this time pretty much since the record's been done, contracts have been signed, promos being set up, blah, blah, blah. Videos had to be made. And now finally, it's like you're going to deliver the baby. Fortunately, I'll be traveling. So actually, I'll be at my destination, but, I'll be doing a gig on the 29th in the Barrel Island. So it's like, I'll have something to occupy my time,
Right, right.
and my mind.
Nice,
Because
nice.
but of course, you're nervous. You want people. Of course, you want people to like it and relate to it and let it resonate with them. But you heard it, and your reaction said phenomenal. So I'm hoping that everybody else has the same kind of opinion.
Nice, man. Now, there's two singles out already, Belly of the
Yeah.
Beast and Black Sun.
Right.
How would you compare those two songs with what's on the rest of the record?
I think it follows suit. I think the record is extremely cohesive. It's a modern melodic metal album. And the themes and subject matter is pretty dark because it's a dark time we live in. And I believe, Dan, that art is a reflection of life. The artist has to he paints what he sees and what he feels. So you go externally and internally, and that's what was happening during the writing of this album. We could look around right now, and the world was in chaos. I've had some serious changes in my life, as you can see,
Yeah.
and in many ways, I had a heart attack 3 years ago, so on and so forth. So these things really, really change you and your perspective. So I think the album is full of depth, and message. And yes, there is some darkness. There's always a glimmer of hope here and there. But I always tell people, hope without faith is empty. You need faith. You need faith in things to be better, not just, oh, I hope so. So anyway, I think it will resonate with people. I think that they are surrounded by the same things that I'm surrounded by,
Yeah.
and this will reflect in their life. And I also just think it's ass kicking rock music. So,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
You know, it, when I think of Joe Lynn Turner, I think of Rainbow and Deep Purple and
right,
Ingve,
right, right.
and really, melodic hard rock. But you
Yeah,
said it. This record is a melodic metal record. This
that's
this
right.
is this is a little bit different for you and
A
for the
little bit.
listener. For me, I
Yeah,
was pleasantly surprised when I heard the whole record.
good.
But how the heck did you come into being a metal performer now at age 71, man?
Well, it's an album I always wanted to make. But when I met Peter Takarin, who was responsible for the other half of this album, he's
Yeah.
brilliant. I can't say enough about Peter and Pain, Hypocrisy, Lindemann, all the things that he's done. And we had a vision. When we finally decided to work together, we said this would be interesting. He said if we take melodic hard rock, and sort of industrial metal, put them together and see what we come up with, both respecting each other's genres and backgrounds, and keep that vision like a road, a path to stay on. Anytime we went a little too hard rock or a little too industrial, we brought it back into a medium kind of feeling to get the results we really wanted. I think we were careful about that, and the record shows that. But that's how it happened, actually. And it's not all that difficult for me to adapt to it. In fact, I think Peter said in an interview, they asked, "Well, how does Joe fit in here?" He said, "Oh, easy. He just adapts his voice," which is really quite simply what I do. People, of course, know me from hard rock and ballads.
Yeah.
The so kind of like the smooth singer and all this stuff. I sing all kinds of styles. I think I'm a singer. I can even do a little bit of death metal, with the throat and the whole thing, because I took some actual instruction on that, and it's a marvelous thing, the throat singing. But it's not really my style. But at least I venture into these different areas. So sometimes, even when I was singing this record, Peter would say it's too dark because I was going too metal.
Mhm.
When I was losing my background. He says you still got to be Joe Lynn Turner. Different, same but different. So that's how it happened. So it wasn't all that difficult for me to adapt, or Peter really, because as you can tell, you take Black Sun and it sounds a bit like Purple Rainbow.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
can hear the influences of both genres there.
Yeah.
So
You
that's
know,
how we did it.
yeah, and speaking of Peter Tägtgren, how the heck did you cross paths with him? From a glance, from a distance, it seems like, two different worlds. So, how did you cross paths?
Well, thanks to his brother Tommy. Tommy was a big JLT fan,
Okay.
and he was having a 50th birthday party. And Peter called up and said, "Look, can you do the party? This would be a big surprise for him. He doesn't know it yet, but I rented a hall and there's like 150 people, and it's crazy." So I went and played the party, and afterwards we're drinking and eating and talking. And we looked at each other and we found out that we had a lot of common interests, meaning paranormal, occultisms, secret societies, all kinds of inside information. He loves space,
Mhm.
the Black Knight and the satellites and aliens and all this stuff. And we kind of just said, and then we said, what would it be like to work together? And we kind of laughed, had another beer. And the day after, when he was taking me back to the train to get back to Stockholm, he handed me a tape and a track. And that track, he said, write to it, do your vocals, send it back, by a file, MP3 file.
Right.
And I did, and he absolutely loved it. He was like, "Whoa, this is pretty good. Maybe we got something." And that track is actually "Don't Fear the Dark" that you hear on this record. That was our first,
Okay.
and it's a great song. I love that
Yeah.
song. It's kicking. So I don't know. A few weeks later, I went up to his place at the Abyss, same place we had the party, pretty much in that
Mm.
approximate area, and we wrote two more songs, Black Sun, right there in the studio, right in the
Okay.
studio. He had a skeleton idea, as we call it, for the instrumentation, but as he was making, the music, I was writing the lyrics and melody right there. So we finished those two, and we just went, whoa. Tortured Soul was another one, which is, by the way, the release on the 28th.
Yep.
And I just saw a rough video at it, and it's a powerful video,
Nice.
powerful song,
Nice.
very epic song. So that's how we got together. That's how this whole thing happened. So to make a longer story longer, the pandemic hit. We went on tour with our respective bands, Pain and JLT band, and then the pandemic hit and we were locked down. So what a perfect time to write a record. Like
Nice.
everyone did.
Yeah.
Everybody did. And
Yeah.
you use computer files and Zoom, and WhatsApp and whatever else technology. So we were sending files back and forth, and little by little we completed. Then there was the restrictions came up a bit, lifted, and we got in the studio for like 3 days and just polished up a few areas on different songs, not much. And we just went, that's it. We can't do any more. Any more would be too much. So we resigned ourselves to that, and that's how it all happened. Just like
It
that.
sounds like the pandemic, while being the pandemic, was a blessing. Was a
Yes,
blessing to you
the curse
instead
was the
of.
blessing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. You know,
yeah,
it's weird. There are some bands who have told me, "Man, it sucked. We couldn't do anything," but at least you were able to get the record together.
yeah. I mean, look, you're you're in lockdown. What do? You got to write, you create,
Yeah.
and you can still do that. And I think a lot of bands did that, or we shared files and did different jams together, and so there was some creativity during that period. It wasn't a complete waste, but yes, the curse became a blessing because a lot of times you got to hurry up and make the record, you know.
Yeah.
And this time we didn't have to hurry up. So instead of making a good record, I think we made a great record.
Absolutely. You
Yeah.
absolutely did. No doubt.
So
Um,
thank you.
Curious, were you familiar with Peter Tatron's work before meeting him?
Some of it, I was, but my wife, who was younger than I am, she turned me out to the whole thing,
Okay.
and I started to get more familiar, after we decided. But I knew about pain, and I knew, I mean, shut your mouth and all that stuff, of course. But I wasn't when Lindemann came out. I think that's what I'm trying to say. As soon as Lindemann came out, I was like,
Hmm.
whoa, Peter's doing the music to this, and Till was doing the lyrics and stuff. And I saw Lindemann a few times, and of course Rammstein and all that. But
Yeah.
we actually became friends. And and I used to live next to Richard, the guitar player in New York City. So that's
Okay.
another story. That's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But in fact, there's a track floating around somewhere that I sang a demo to that he wrote and played. So it's a long story. Anyway, that's how familiar I was. So I was familiar enough. And then I started to educate myself more, listen to more of his stuff, and see where his influences go. And I would say, write one like that, you know,
Yeah.
that like that in that style. Like we need a blinder, a double bass kicking. So Belly of the Beast, boom, 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 came out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's, because you're always designing, tempos, keys, everything when you're creating these records.
You know, lyrically on this record, I know it's not a concept record, but is there a common theme throughout the record on
Yeah,
this one?
it's it's not Dark Side of the Moon in sense of the concept,
Right, right,
but
right.
it is what I call it is cohesive. Cohesive meaning that it is one body of work. Even the track listings were very carefully picked so that the keys, the rhythms, tempos, even messaging would flow so that the listener, when you put it on, it kind of takes you on a journey as
Mm,
opposed to, you don't really want to, shall we say, lift the needle because each cut is just strong in its own way and kind of fits where it goes. And lyrically, of course, I was in the same head, as far as the writing and the situations. So yeah, I mean, the messaging is pretty similar in its ways. I mean, you have Belly of the Beast, very geopolitical. You have Black Sun, that's geopolitical. You have Rise Up, that's apolitical, meaning anti-establishment, an
mm,
anthem for the people. You have Tears of Blood, which is really about. It's not about Christ's crucifixion. It's a similarity. What it is about our crucifixion or a person's when you're betrayed by a lover, when you're betrayed by a friend, or government or anybody. It's about betrayal and addiction really to evil. So and it goes on, and then Desire, which is a great heavy riff track. That's about serial killer, because I was so fascinated with what makes them do what they do. I researched it, and it's really all about power. It's not about sex or anything like that.
Mm.
So power is a great force in this world. Don't Fear the Dark, perfect again, more cohesive, because it's really kind of Carl Jung talking about your shadow, your evil side. We all have a good side and an evil side. And he says to him, if you don't know your evil side, it can creep up anytime, take you over. And he's absolutely right about that psychologically. And to know your dark side, the shadow. And I could go right down the list, as far as Fallen World, very geopolitical.
Mm.
It's kind of almost a rap about everything that's going on. One of my favorite lines: porno, fornication, child molestation, God is on vacation.
Mm.
Because it seems like he really is,
Yeah.
So, and then living the dream, for example, rock and roll, are we really, or your own life, are you really, is this what you really wanted? You fought like hell to get here, and you got to look around. Dark soul, dark night of the soul, Mike. Any man's vision when you have a near death experience, which I did. I
Mm.
didn't know if I was going to live or die during a heart attack, and even after. Now, thank God, everything is cleared up, and I've got 2 stents and all this bullshit. But I'm feeling great. And you start to measure your life, your purpose, what you did right, what you did wrong, who you are. And if you don't know what Dark Night of the Soul is, just Google it, because it's a fascinating short read created by St. John the Divine. He says it's like an epiphany you get when you start to realize, hey, this life is a gift, and I take it for granted. And a lot of us do. And when you realize you're waking up, blinking and breathing every day, you should really be thankful and more grateful. And I started to take on that perspective, because once you're near death, you're not afraid of it anymore. And you really are afraid that you won't live. Live in a sense of fulfillment in your life.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And Requiem, lost love, a broken man who screwed the love of his life up and totally kind of threw it away by being a badass or something. Sad.
Yeah.
The death of love. So it's cohesive.
Nice.
And I just went through every track. So
yeah.
I hope you don't mind.
That's fine. That's excellent, man. Is there a track that I don't want to say your favorite, because it's not even out yet? You're probably a little too close to it. But is there a track that might mean a little bit more to you than the other ones? I mean, I have a favorite just from listening to it once or twice. My favorite is Tears of Blood. And for sure, I'm going to be playing that one.
Well.
Yeah, I'm going to be playing that one for sure.
We're right on track. Well, we're right on track here, because I have to say, honestly, I've been living with this album, and there was a point in time I played it to death, and then I stopped playing it at all.
Yeah.
So that I could just be free of it, and I mean for 2-3 weeks I wouldn't listen to it, and then I went back and sat, and tightened up a little bit and said, let me listen to this. And Tears of Blood stuck out to me too. It was just like a track that really had just great musicality, great lyrics. It was catchy. It was metal. It had a great theme to it. But honestly, my favorites kept changing.
Yeah.
The longer I listened to it, I would go, oh, what about Desire? What about this one? Wait a minute. Rise Up for a while was like just in a car. It's just like, wow, it just takes you along. So I think the more you listen to it, I think, Dan, you're going to have the same feeling. It's going to be Tears of Blood, then you're going to shift to something else.
Yeah, right.
But I would right now I would say Tears of Blood, because just this week I'm talking to my wife Maya about it, and we said, Tears of Blood, we got to do a video on that one, because that's such a great track.
Mm.
So right on for
nice,
that, brother.
Nice. Who else is playing on the record? I mean, I'm assuming Peter is playing on the record. Does he do everything, or are there other players?
Almost everything. I gotta tell
Okay.
you, he's amazing. Peter's amazing. He um he does all the background guitars, all the chunk guitars and heavy guitars. He does the bass. He does the programming, which there is some programming,
Mhm.
piano or whatever keys. He
Mhm.
programs all of that, right? His studio's phenomenal, and he's a wizard. And then he called in some orchestration, actual violins and cellos for certain songs from a friend of his that he uses there in Sweden. And then his son, Sebastian Tackred, plays all the drum tracks
Okay.
because you see, Peter originally was a drummer,
Okay.
and he still can play pretty well. But Sebastian must have got the genetics and took over because this younger kid, man, he's phenomenal. That's some really great drumming. And then we needed a serious lead guitar player. So Love Magnuson from Dynasty, the
Okay.
band Dynasty. Now,
Yeah.
Dynasty, when they're not Dynasty, was basically the JLT band. You can see them on Sweden Rock and all these festivals that I've done, clubs. They play with me whenever they're not playing. They're my band. So it was very obvious choice for both of us to call Love and say, "Can you do the guitar leads?" And he said, "Absolutely." So we worked on it I guess we did some work before he actually recorded everything, and then he went into the studio. We did about a week of going through the songs, getting familiar, and where we thought these leads should go, because he's an amazing player, as you can tell.
Yeah.
And then the dark horse was a friend of Peter's who works in the small studio in the Abyss. There's two studios, the big room and the small room, and
Mm.
his name is Jonas Kilburn. And Jonas is a producer, writer, guitar player, singer, everything himself. And Requiem, the last track, the very dark gothic kind of ballad,
Yeah.
is really written by Jonas. That track, that's the only track that he wrote, because
Okay.
Peter and him said, we have this. Here's a track that we always wanted to do, but we weren't able to write to it, and we think you can write to it. So immediately I took it home and started listening to it, this heavy gothic track, really. And I immediately thought of Requiem because it sounded like a funeral march. And it was the Requiem of the lost love type of thing. And Jonas plays the guitar solo on that, and he plays the guitar solo on Don't Fear the Dark. So that's it. And very important, my thanks and gratefulness go out to these guys that came in from Sabaton to do the background vocals.
Nice. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. A lot of
That's
people don't
great.
know they're listed individually with their names, but it's Sabaton, and they live pretty close to Peter's studio, so they just trucked on down one day, and just got in there and started the big heavy whoa-whoas and stuff, and really grateful to those guys, and they finished it off.
Nice. That is awesome. That is
Yeah.
great.
So
Um,
it's really a handful of people. That's all.
yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Just one quick question to finish up here. I'm realistic as far as tours and shows. Um, where are you at with shows and tours, particularly here in the States? I mean,
Hmm.
obviously, you said you had a show next weekend following the record release, but where are you at as far as shows or tours here in the States? Can we expect anything from you in the near future?
Well, I'll tell you. First of all, if I do, which I want to do shows, of course, I want to take just the Belly of the Beast album plus salt and pepper it with heavy tracks from my solo albums of the
Mhm.
same cohesiveness. Okay, and
Yep.
I can explain that, but just trust me, I'll heavy them up. It's not. I'm not going to be singing "I Surrender." That's not going to happen.
Okay.
Okay, so
Yep.
so let's get over that. Okay, it's going to be a complete transition when I do these shows, and I won't go out until at least say beginning of March, because I don't like touring in the winter. It's too dangerous. I have too many experiences, bad experiences with weather
Mm.
and buses and all of that. And I could go into it now, but it's not important. I wouldn't start till March. As far as the USA, I'd love to tour the States again because it's my home country, man. It's my people. But at the same time, I'll tell you what the problem is. A lot of my friends are calling me from the road. People who have pretty big names, and they're saying, "Man, the turnouts. I'm not talking about the big stadium shows.
Right.
They're always going to sell pretty fairly well, when
Sure.
you've got Def Leppard and Motley and everybody else. But
Right.
I'm talking about, the regular guys that are out there beating the streets, and they're saying, look, it's really tough because there's no money.
Yeah.
People don't have money right now. The economy's in shit shape, and it's not getting better. So I'm hoping that it does. Of course, we all are. We're hoping and praying. But at the same time, it's like if it gets worse, who can afford it? The promoters can't afford it either because they even say we can't open the venue because we have to pay insurances and rent, all this stuff, and the prices are pretty high. And of course, the bottom line is always still break even or at least some profit.
Right.
So I'm hoping that we do have shows. I know everyone's enthusiastic and wants to get out again because they're so tired of being locked down and everything. But you said you're a realist, and you said you look at the reality of it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the true reality. We gotta hope and pray that things turn around so that we can actually have that disposable cash. Otherwise, you're gonna have to feed your families and put gas in your car, and,
Yeah.
daily stuff.
Yep.
So yes, I want to tour, but we got to turn this world around, man. We got to do something that's going to make a difference for us to be able to be free and at least have enough financial background that we can live like free people again.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's reality. That's reality.
And it is reality. Joe Lynn Turner, thank you so much for joining us here today. Rapture Radio, WCNI in New London, Connecticut. Belly of the Beast is the name of the record, coming out October the 28th. And trust me, everybody, I've heard the record. Like I said, it really is phenomenal. And we will definitely be spinning a lot of tunes from this record.
Thank you.
You got it.
Appreciate it, Dan. Lots of love to everybody out there, and take care of yourselves. And remember, freedom.
Yeah.
That's what we need, brother. Rock and roll and freedom.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love you.
Joe.
Thank you, Dan. Much appreciated.
Please take care of yourself, and hopefully we
Will
can hook up soon.
Will do, babe.
All right. Take care.
See you.
All right.